Mr. Penumbra's 24-hour bookstore. Well, the title alone is cool. But that's what we're going to talk about today. The Mr. Penumbra's 24-hour bookstore book, which I first found from, I don't know your first name, sorry. Byways in Bookland recommended it, and I thought, boy, that cover is gorgeous. And so I borrowed it on Libby from my local library and read it in kind of two sittings, one night and then one the next day. Let's talk about it. Now, ultimately, I'm of two minds on this book. Let me give you a quick synopsis. Quick synopsis is a computer programmer gets out of a job, finds a job at the 24-hour bookstore, and there's a bit of clandestine society happening. There's some mystery involved, and yeah. And there's some tech involved. That's probably my biggest fault, my biggest struggle with the book. So there's a long, I'm trying not to give away too much here, but there's the long section where they're trying to decode some stuff, and they go to Google because the guy's, Clay? I think it's Clay. The main character's love interest is at Google, and so she says, hey, we can totally crack this book. It's Google, of course we can. And kind of that whole stretch, a lot of the tech felt forced or rushed. And I'm a computer programmer. This is my main job. I understand a lot of this can be done, but it just felt, I don't know, rushed. Like not believable. That's certainly the weakest part. I feel like the tech was the weakest part in the book. And as I read through specifically this Google section where they're trying to crack the code, I was like, really? And I stopped and talked to my wife, and I was like, this just doesn't feel believable. This just doesn't feel something of substance wasn't there. The other thing that of substance that didn't feel like it was there was the Society of the Broken Spine, the Unbroken Spine, which is the secret society. And for a society that's supposedly been, trying to decode things, this specific thing since the printing press, basically, it didn't have a lot of gravitas. It felt thin. It just wasn't there for me. I read it and I was like, it's a society, okay. Like, it's, a lot of things you see in a lot of societies. It's not a big deal. Now, saying all that, and I was thinking that as I finished the book. So as I finished the book and the mystery is solved, and I read, here's the kind of the epilogue. This is what, a very brief sketch of what happens with the characters. And I read that and I finished reading it and I was like, I want to know what happens to the two main characters, Mr. Penumbra and Clay, I think it is. Clay? Maybe I remember my daughter's dragon storybook. The Wings of Fire, there's a Clay in there. So Mr. Penumbra and the other main character. So maybe I'm remembering, like, I want to know what did they do with their consultancy after? What did they do? I enjoyed how the main character solved the mystery. I found that fairly believable. A little rushed though, like just a little rush. And it was a short read. I mean, I read fairly quick, but it was a short read, and just a little rushed. So that's what I would say about the book. Do I want to read it? Yeah, it was good. I will I have it on my list already to go down to my local used bookstore and say, hey, I would like a copy of Mr. Penumbra's 24-hour bookstore. Preference to that cool cover, and that's what I'll use in my show notes. So if you saw the image on this, then that's the one. That's the cover that's cool that I saw at Byways in Bookland. But I'll get it. I want it. I want a copy of it. It's good. I really liked it, but parts of it just felt thin to me. Parts of it just lacked some substance. The writing was good. The story, the premise was, I enjoyed the premise. I really want to go find a really tall, thin bookstore, like with huge ladders to go crawl up. Maybe I want to own one or own a library that has ladders, or two-story library where I can have ladders and, have a walk up them. That'd be cool. But parts of it just felt thin. So overall, I'm going to give it a thumbs up. I like the book. I think you should read it if my brief sketch sounds interesting. But be prepared maybe for a bit of thinness in the tech stuff. Now, if you're not in the tech sector and this sounds like maybe it's fine for you, because I know Byways and Bookland recommend. I want to say Steve. I don't know if that's it. Maybe I'm thinking of Steve Donahue, but that's totally someone different. But Byways and Bookland, he recommended it and said it was great, and he didn't mention anything about the feeling thin and the tech not being not believable. Just didn't have the substance I thought it needed. So maybe if you're not in the tech sector, you won't notice this, but I noticed it, and it was kind of my only fault of the book. The rest of it was really good. If you liked the review, give me a thumbs up. If you loved it, subscribe, never hit the bell because you got better things to do, like go read a book or something else. So you should go do that instead. Have a good one.